The views expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts. All creative works discussed or reviewed are the intellectual property of the creators of said stories and are being used under the Fair Use Doctrine. Hello and welcome to Of Swords and Soulmates, a podcast where we read, watch, and discuss fantasy and sci-fi stories spiced with romance and ask, is this a kissing book? I'm one of your hosts, Mari, and with me I have Kelly.
Hey everyone, it's Kelly. We also have Ashley.
Hey guys, it's Ashley. We also have Jonathan.
What's good, everybody? It's JP.
JP.
We're going to be discussing book conventions, a little bit of a revisiting the topic and doing new advice and new things we've learned and what we would recommend to you if you're thinking about doing a book convention, maybe your first one, or if you haven't done one in a while. So if you don't know what a book convention is, it's like any convention. It's just a gathering of people, whether it's, with some sort of common interest, whether it's like a fandom thing, a professional interest, like an industry or a job thing. But book conventions specifically usually involve authors and readers. A lot of times you'll have other literary professionals, like maybe publishers, maybe narrators, maybe the artists that do like the covers and things, and like book merchandise people. I'd say those are the main groups of people that are at these events, right?
Yeah.
And then as far as activities, what you can kind of expect out of a book convention, there's usually, obviously, book sales. There's usually panels either by the authors or maybe by fans or readers or whatever. There's book signings. There's workshops sometimes. And there's book-related merch you can buy. And then usually there's some sort of like a networking type party or ball or event in the evening of most days of these events. So at this point, we've all been to several book cons. What all book cons? Let's see, we've been to Romantasy was our first book con in Florida as a group. I think it was everybody's first book con, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then we also did Aluxia, also in Florida. We did that together as a group.
Mm-hmm.
And as a group, we've recently did Villains and Vixens when it was held in Florida. And then individually, I've done Dragon Con, which isn't specifically a book con, but it's got a lot of book things in it. And then Monsterotica Book Con as well. I think that's all the book cons we've done, right? As a group?
Yeah. We've done a couple iterations of Romantasy Book Con. How many Romantasy Book Cons have we done? Two? Three?
I think this year will be our third, won't it?
This will be
third.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've got a little bit of experience now under our belt, a little bit more idea of what we would recommend and wouldn't recommend and things to look out for. So I think we're going to break this up like we did before, where it's like things to do or to think about before your event, during your event, and then after your event. I think the first thing obviously is deciding whether or not you're going to go, the research you want to do about the event, whether that's hearing about it from somebody else who's gone, maybe looking at the website, looking at, other people who have gone, maybe reading about their experiences, or if they do videos on it or whatever, or you see pictures and everything, getting a vibe for what kind of event it is, and maybe hearing from other authors or vendors that have been at the event, what kind of experience they had. So it gives you an idea of what kind of event it is, if it's the event for you, if it's what you're looking for.
So I think take that with a grain of salt though too, because if you looking at last year's events and how they went, you could probably capture about 80% of the vibe from the previous year in most cases, I think. But the attendance is dynamic and variable. So,
right.
And they always seem to want to improve and tweak. There might be more popular authors that were maybe listed in a general capacity could have been elevated to a ticketed capacity as well. So keeping those things in mind. And also maybe don't judge off of last year's negatives because they could have improved.
Yeah. Also, I think take into account like any review situation, generally the people who are going to talk about an event, the ones who had a really great experience and a really bad experience. So it's like Yelp reviews or anything else. Just realize that the probably the majority of the people had an experience somewhere in between the positives and the negatives.
Do you think we've had like a truly negative BookCon experience?
Yes.
Oh, tell me more. I don't remember this unless I blocked it out.
Yeah, because Alexia sucked.
Oh, okay. So
It was not what we were
different-
expecting, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was a different type of event. I think
The stock photos were very misleading.
Yeah.
I agree.
But in hindsight, the price that we paid was maybe in line.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, I think Alexia was quite disappointing. I think we were misled. I think I read about it quite a bit, but there wasn't enough historical context to do a deep dive.
Mm.
And for the cost, I think we paid what, like $30 a person?
Yeah, it was really affordable.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we weren't out the money, but I think we were vastly disappointed, especially compared to fabled fantasy events.
So
Yeah.
like dollar for dollar though, like did you have $30 worth of fun?
I think we left early. No, I don't know. Like,
Dang, that is interesting. What is? Hey, I don't remember because I don't pay for these things. What was the? Sorry, what's the cost of Fabled Fantasy?
For the
Fabled
whole
Fantasy is
weekend?
about I was gonna say it's about $75 a day per person. So I think
Yeah.
we're all in
Like
around 150, 125
Are you saying the other one was just $30?
a day.
Oh, $30 a day. So
Am I wrong, Maury? Do you
No, I
remember?
think that's about right. We just went the one day. Yeah.
Oh, I think it ran the next day. We just didn't go.
Oh, I
thought,
don't remember.
Yeah, I thought we went twice, but we
And
didn't.
to be
we
fair-
didn't go back.
We only did like the day stuff. So I don't remember if the $30 included the event, and we have nothing to say about the event at night, whatever. They had like a ball type situation, and we didn't experience that. So we don't have any, whatever our opinion is, does not reflect that part of Alexia.
Yeah.
Also with RomanticyCon, we didn't do the
We've
evening
never
event
done a
for that
ball,
either.
no.
We haven't done that.
And how about Villains and Vixens? How much was that ticket?
That was comparable.
Two.
Romantasy BookCon.
Oh, so
Yeah.
roughly about $150.
So I feel like Romantasy BookCon started out a little bit cheaper. If anybody remembers, please correct me. I thought it was maybe like $125 for 2 days
The
per
first
person.
year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And then I think it's inched up, and I think we're right about $150, $160 now for 2 days.
We had to pay for Rebecca to come out.
Yeah, but it wasn't a severe increase last year. I just think it's inched up, which, economically I'm not necessarily opposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So overall, I felt like the less costly one was it was a diet price, and it felt maybe like a diet event, but it doesn't mean that event was mature. Does that make sense? Like it could still grow into something.
Yeah, anything
think
could
they-
change. Anything could become better for sure. But I think that the way that they represented themselves with photos of what the event would be like, etc., made it seem like it was a different type of event than what it was. I think that's what left a bad taste in the mouth
Yeah.
to me about it. With the
I don't think
what
I
I
would
felt was
try-
misrepresentation.
I wouldn't trust it again, right? And to be fair, and not that I've done any research, I do think that they have revamped whatever they do. Like I think it is more event/ball related the last time I saw something go out under that name, and less convention related.
Yeah.
And maybe it was like workshops, but I don't think it was like the floor stuff.
So maybe instead of just relying on because I feel a lot of these sites, or a lot of these events they don't have strong, unless they're bigger events, they don't have really strong websites built out. So
Correct.
maybe just search the hashtag associated with the event from the previous year.
Or look at their social media. So like even if it's, because not all of them even have a good hashtag associated with it, to be honest. But if you like, for example, generally if you go to their website, they'll have like their social media profile. So you can make sure you're looking at the official social media profile, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and then look through there and look at the prior pictures as far as like what was announced, pictures of the actual event, what actually happened. And then also, yes, do research on maybe other people that were there that like posted pictures about it or talked about it, and see what their take on the event was.
Absolutely.
You mentioned earlier ticketed authors. So for those who've never been to a book convention, what a ticketed author is generally you're going to have like I'm not going to say tiers of authors, but it's going to be based on what they think the popularity of an author is going to be. So if they think that an author is going to have a lot of people wanting to get things autographed, then they're going to put them into a ticketed structure where you either sign up for tickets or you sign up on a site or you sign up ahead of time, just depending on what structure they do. And then you get like a placeholder basically in line to be able to have X amount of people be assigned to be, to have autographs, for example, with that person. And so generally, if it's a ticketed author and you don't have a ticket, you should not have the expectation that you're going to get to talk to or get an autograph from that particular author. For other people, sure, but likely not from that author. It's still possible because
Yes.
I think at Fabled Fantasy, Ash, you guys got a ticketed author like same day last year. Didn't you have somebody?
I think it was Aaron Craig.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Yeah. And then at one point, Mari, you ended up on the elevator with a ticketed author.
I did with Sarah Beth Durst, who was super sweet.
I'm sure if you would have handed her a book, she would have signed it.
She probably would have. But also, I would not do that because when these authors are away from the table, they're also taking their break and living their life. And we need to not we need to be real careful to not harass the talent, so to speak, so that they want to come back to these events.
Yeah. What do they, is it know the audience or what do they say about read
the room?
Read the room. That's the phrase. So I think the only reason I say that she probably would have signed that book is because I think after she got off the elevator, she even stopped to share a few words with us afterwards. I wasn't on the elevator, but when she got off the elevator, I thought she cruised by the table. I might be inventing that in my own mind.
No, I think she did. I think she was really nice. Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think you wouldn't get that from Rebecca Yarros. Not that Rebecca Yarros is lesser in any sense of that. Rebecca just has signing limitations for health reasons.
And also probably security, to be honest.
I was thinking big dog head.
She definitely had security.
Yeah. The whole ticketed author thing, the thing with most book conventions, I would say, is usually you have to decide whether or not you're going to go to this convention based off of what the prior year was like and based off the subject matter of the convention. You usually can't wait until specific authors or big authors are announced because a lot of times stuff sells out too fast and you're going to lose your opportunity. So you kind of have to trust that you're going to go to this event and, for example, Monster Erotica book con that I went to, I didn't know anybody who was going at the time that I bought the ticket, but the ticket sold out in 5 minutes. So if I'd waited to figure out who was going, I would have never gotten the opportunity to go. I was just well, it's monster romance. That sounds like an interesting topic. I like monster romance books. Let's do it. So sometimes you do have to kind of trust the event runners.
The process. Yeah.
Are going to provide you with people that you're going to be interested in their work or interested to get to know them if you hadn't, seen their work before, which is where one of the things comes in that you can do research ahead of time. Even if, for example, Monster Erotica book con that I went to, that was an inaugural event. That was the first time that happened. So there wasn't prior year's information for me to look at. So at that point, I had to look at the person that was doing the event. Had they done stuff before? What was their reputation for other things that they had run in the past? Because generally people who have a reputation for, I'm not going to say running an event poorly on purpose, because I do think that most people who have failed events, it's not a thing where they're trying to get people's money. I do feel like it's a people get in over their head if they don't have the proper experience is what tends to happen. So if you look at the person who was running that event, for example, they had experience of doing things before. So I felt pretty confident that it wasn't going to be a horrible situation. And I ended up going for it and it ended up working out for me. So that's something else you can do, in addition to other people's experiences, look up what other things that company or that group of people or person who's running that event, what else have they done? And what have those events been like?
I would also say, and correct me if you think I'm wrong here with this one, but is it it's easy, in my opinion, from what I can see, looking at the forums and all the different groups, it's easier to sell a ticket that you don't want than it is to find a ticket that you want.
Absolutely.
So get in the queue, buy the ticket. If you get within a reasonable amount of time and you say like, hey, nobody's here that I want to go see, or this has just become something's popped up, you could probably sell that ticket using whatever provided mechanisms the promoter has to offer,
Right.
much more easily than it would be for you to capture a ticket should
Right.
you have missed out.
I agree. So if you can afford it to go ahead and do it, and then just know that you'll get your money back later if you change your mind, that's definitely a good strategy to do. Other things to look into in addition to the people who've been before and the event people is where the event's going to be held. Because, for example, the Monsterotica one, for me, I was going by myself and it was in Baltimore. And for me, I was like, well, what's the worst that can happen? If the event is horrible, I'll go. Baltimore's a big city. I'll go do things in the big city. I'm sure there's a museum I'm interested in. I'm sure there's, some touristy things to do. And I also had a friend who was close by that I was able to hang out with. So I was like, worst case scenario, I'll get a trip to this city out of it. So look into where the event's being held. See how you feel about that. Look into the weather of the area. Maybe going to New England area in the middle of winter is not what you want to do. Or going to Florida in the middle of summer is not what you want to do. You know your limitations. You know what you're willing to put up with. Those are other things to factor into whether or not you're wanting to do a particular event.
Agreed.
So once you've decided that this is the event you want to do, then you have to get into the details of everything you need to do beforehand. Obviously, first thing is buy the ticket. And whether that means deciding you want to go to an event and then you want to put it, if you know that the tickets are going to go on sale on such and such a date, you put that in your calendar. You make yourself available so you don't miss out on ticket sales. Because some of them do sell out really fast. Or at least maybe the tier that you're interested in might sell out really fast. That's another thing that happens too. So you want to get your ticket. And like Jonathan, like you were saying earlier, if you end up not doing, deciding not to do it, there are legitimate ways to get your money back and sell the ticket to somebody else. All the ones I've done have been through Discord, but I know some places will do it through an official Facebook group. There's different ways that you can officially sell things. So you're getting your money back, and then the person who's getting the ticket knows that they're getting an official ticket, Other stuff is to start booking. It would be your travel, whether you're flying in, whether you're driving in, get yourself sorted for that in terms of airplane tickets, etc. Lodging, if you're going to stay at the host hotel, wherever the event's being held, if there's a particular hotel that it's being held at or that is connected with the convention center where it's being held at, are you going to get a room there, or are you going to get an adjoining room, or a room in another hotel? And there's pros and cons of all of it.
Research the event hotel.
Yeah.
Research that bad boy.
Yeah. They're not all, there's the great bonus of not having to travel anywhere else if you decide to stay at the hotel where the event's being held. But they may not be what you want it to be, or they may not be, you're getting the value out of it for the price that it is. Because, just because a place or a hotel has really good convention services doesn't mean they may be the place that you might want to stay as a guest. I think last one we went to the Vixens and Villains one, you guys stayed on site, and I stayed off site and drove in, which had its own, downsides, but also it was nice to kind of get away from the con stuff and be able to just completely turn off, So those are choices you need to make for yourself when you're planning your trip. And then reservations, like you talked about, Jonathan, a lot of times we'll do dinner reservations. And so you want to get that stuff ahead of time. If there's a particular place you're wanting to have a dinner or whatever, one or both of the nights that you're going to be at these events.
Another thing to consider is, are there restaurants in the hotel where you're staying? Do you want to schedule lunch or dinner around that as well? Because I don't think that's anything we ever thought of before.
Right. And also pay attention to the hours of these restaurants, because there were 3 or 4 restaurants at that hotel, but only one was open for lunch.
Yeah, only one inside was. I think the pool bar was open outside, but nobody was going outside in July.
Right. In Florida. Yeah. The other thing that I have started to do at book conventions now that I didn't used to do is going ahead and going on Baventi. So it's a service where authors will go to, you can follow an event, like you can follow Villains and Vixens, you can follow Romanticon, whatever, and then you can see the authors who are going to be there. And then the authors will put on their special orders or their pre-order things. So you can kind of do your pre-shopping. And if there's something you want to order ahead, you can have a whole list, and different authors will close their pre-orders a certain amount of weeks before the event. So it's a good way to see what's going to be there. It's a good way to figure out what you might want to buy and not buy. Maybe start reading stuff ahead of time and decide whether or not you want to buy it, if you can get it done, before the closing date, or just get a vibe for, it's one thing to see a big list of names on a website or on an Instagram post of authors, but if you don't know who they are, it's cumbersome to have to look each one up individually and figure out, oh, okay, well, this is a dark romance author and they do this and this. Oh, and this is a romantasy author and they do this and this. Versus in Baventi, you can just click on them and see. You're not going to be able to see everything that author has done because they're not going to have everything they've done for sale, but you can see what they're highlighting what they're choosing to highlight at this particular event. And so there's some pretty special editions. You can get a feel for things, read stuff ahead of time, and decide, what might be something you might want to focus on. And it's really cool because when you do pre-order, you can then, when you go to the event, you can just have this page of the things that you have a list that will pop up on your Baventi app. And so you can just, okay, I need to go this booth and pick up my pre-order. And then I need to go this booth and pick up my pre-order. It also spreads out the financial pain. So everything's not just on one weekend.
What's Baventi?
It's a site where it's a pathway to pre-buy books from authors that are going to be at the event that you're attending. It's like pre-ordering books to pick up while you're there.
Yeah, their slogan is where books find their readers.
Is it something that's available for all book conventions regardless?
I was going to say, I think it's a newer concept in the last year. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember that our first BookCon. I don't remember it last BookCon, but I thought they had something. And it was definitely a thing for Villains and Vixens.
Yeah, I think at least the past 2 years, if not more, it's been around. Because I know when I went to Monsterotica the first time, which would be 2 years ago now, people were talking about having done Baventi pre-orders. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I know it's at least existed for 2 or 3 years, but you can go on Baventi. You can create an account or not. It's Beventi. And you can explore events. You can just look for events in the area, or you can follow authors on Baventi. So let's say you're interested in Sarah Beth Durst. You can follow her. And then every time she signs up that she's going to be at an event, you'll get an alert. And that might be a way to get keyed into events that you might be interested in going. Or you can just go ahead and say you're attending a particular event, and then you'd be able to see all the authors that are on Baventi for that event. It's pretty handy. I like the structure of it. I like that it creates kind of a list for you, and you're able to get an idea for a lot of the authors. Like I said, in an easier way than just this giant list of authors that you sometimes get on Instagram posts or on websites.
That's fair, because I'm not great about authors in general. That's probably not something I did prior to this podcast, tracked by the author, which sounds silly saying out loud. You know what I mean? I was more of a vibe reader and just kind of pick it up and go as I go along.
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily, because some authors have a more consistent voice than others. And so there's some authors that I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure everything I've read by Sarah Beth Durst, I know what I'm getting into, for example. But T. Kingfisher, I love T. Kingfisher, but her fantasy and fairy tale retellings and fantasy romance stuff is very different voice than her horror stuff. And so you may not necessarily like everything an author has done. But this is just a good way to get an easier overview than having to look up every single author, by typing it in from a list. So
I'm so excited. He's looking it up right now. Maybe it'll save me a few bucks.
Oh, I don't know. This, I'm going to be honest here. This site it's a good start, but I don't think this site is as user-friendly as it could be.
No, I have it as a
the app
on my phone is how I use it. So I don't think I've ever used it on an actual computer. So I don't have any reference to that.
I'm not sure if Baventi is listening. I like the concept as a way to connect authors with readers and readers with authors. I think what it may be missing here is clarity. When I land here, I don't quite understand what the purpose of the site is, and it requires somebody to tell me more.
We should look up the app, see if it's any more user friendly. Sometimes it's like that.
Yeah, I will. I'll go deeper. If it was just me and I stumbled across it, I don't know if I would dig deeper. And I think that's a glaring. It's not glaring. It's a gap. Let's say if there was a book service line or a book like a writing industry that I could just speak to a group of people, we've identified a gap. It's your websites.
Yeah,
we've got to fix them.
Yeah. Oh, I just know that when I went to Monsterotica, people were like picking up all these pre-orders and all these really pretty special editions that were not available, to just buy, because it was, these authors have to, especially when they're flying in or when they have to buy their stuff, they have to figure out how much of a certain product they're going to have. Yeah. And so like they don't bring very many extra on these special editions or whatever than what has already been pre-ordered. So like I would see people with editions and I was like, how did you get this? How did you know there's a pre-order? And that's why I was like, oh, everyone's using this Baventi thing.
Dang, girl, I didn't even think about the special editions. I was just thinking about buying books in advance, and I was like, I don't need that temptation in my life. I need Romantasy BookCon to tell me what I need to buy. But I didn't think about the special editions.
Yeah.
Dang.
If you're going to your first book convention, see if the event is on Baventi or some of the authors who are going to be there on Baventi, and that way you get a vibe for things ahead of time that they may have, and you may get access to buying special editions if that's something you're interested in, for example, or like omnibus or bind-ups or whatever. After you've done all that, then you get into the fun aspect of packing and that fine line of packing for an event but not overpacking, and also how you pack for an event that you're going to get to drive to versus an event that you have to fly to. Because there's a huge difference. Obviously you want to pack like your comfy clothes, comfy shoes, but also maybe costume stuff or fancy stuff if you're planning to do the night event, or if you're wanting to do some costume cosplay, which some events do. You have to figure out how to pack all that. I would say unless you just really, really want to carry around a bunch of books in your hand or in your tote bags on your shoulder, you're going to want to get a book cart of some kind.
Book cart.
That's where it's at. So do your research on your book carts. Standard sizes, what an event will allow. My biggest suggestion that I tell everybody for book carts is don't waste your money on the ones that don't have 360 swivel wheels, because you will be kicking yourself. You want to have that ability to be flexible and swivel when you're, tired and trying to get around people and all that stuff.
Book carts, we've identified our second gap. If there's a gap analysis, this is gap 2 for me. It's the book cart. I think, I don't know what the market looks like, right? So if I said, who uses these book carts? Everybody who reads a book and goes to book conventions and buys more books than they can carry at one time is their target audience, their target market. And there's definitely variations of this. So you have the old standard Office Depot version, which is the tilt and pull. And we saw that backfire on a friend of ours who thought that they had 4 wheels, but they only had 2.
Yeah.
And they were like, dang, there's a whole bunch of friction with this cart. It's like, well, maybe you should just tilt it. And they were like, what do you mean? And they looked and they were like, oh God, I've been shoving this thing around. It was a comically light moment at that time. But yeah, having the swivel thing. But the wheels aren't big enough. Like, I think they need to, like, if there was a way to convert it to 3-inch wheels instead of the 1.5 to 2-inch wheels that these carts come with, that would be key to me. There's lots of room for improvement. And then there's the entire accessory line that you can get with. And if you're a book convention host, I feel like it would behoove you to invest in just a basic colorway. Maybe it's cream, maybe it's gray or grayish. Book carts, a handful of them.
Could
I'm
you
not
imagine
saying
selling book carts at these things? We'd be billionaires, you guys.
You don't sell them, you rent them.
That's what I was thinking. Rent them. Yes. A service.
never fails. Somebody shows up and they want one because it's their first book con, but nobody told them.
I mean, that was us, our first time.
Yeah.
We didn't know.
We got to get on this, Kelly and guys. We got to do this.
I don't know any boys. I mean, I guess it could be ladies too.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. It could be ladies.
Yeah. We just hired muscle.
No, it just needs to
All
be
genders.
either a we carry your books for you, or you signal for them. They come over and say, can I take these back and hold them at the main table for you?
Yeah.
That, Kelly, is the answer, because nothing would make me feel more powerful than for me to raise my hands into the air and hail
We could have like
the
little
individual
stick.
over.
We'd be assigned a
Yes, I'll be purchasing this book here. Would you please make sure that it ends up with the rest of my purchases?
Yeah.
Bonsoir.
Yep. I mean, that's why
tabs
people
under
love
Ashley.
That's why people love staying. One of the big selling points for staying at the property hotels at Disney and Universal and all that stuff is because you can buy merchandise and have it delivered to your room. You don't have to carry it
It's true.
around.
And we are a sucker for valet, aren't we?
Yes.
We will pay for convenience. It's a problem.
How pretentious did we just sound?
Insanely.
No, but here's the thing.
Yes.
You are at an event where you have finite energy and you want to see everything. You want to talk to everybody. If you're doing a night event, you want to have energy for the night. So if you're not having to haul around pounds of books, you know what? Save that energy for like enjoying the event.
Because I think the problem too is the book carts are a great idea, but a lot of people clog up the aisles and the walkways with their book carts too, because they don't put them in front of them or directly behind them. They carry them to the side, which is like taking up space of another person. So, a lot of people, I don't know that book carts are the answer for everyone.
Yeah, this would be a great service, guys.
Stamp it now. Trademark it. We got to get on that.
In addition to the book cart, water bottle and snacks. Because you're going to be going, and there's no guarantee you're going to be able to have water and or snacks when you want them, because you're going to want to do all the things all the time.
I don't know
Especially
why.
something like BookCon.
I don't know why there aren't people walking around selling bottled water in the merchandise aisles.
So I do think that's something that Villains and Vixens did really well that I don't remember Romantasy BookCon doing at all.
I agree.
Is that Villains and Vixens had their volunteers, which was, staffing separate than the volunteers that the authors brought, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those guys were going up and down the aisles with just trays of water. And there were water stations along the sides of the room, multiple, and they were always full. And you could get hot. I think you could get it hot, couldn't you? I don't know if it was ice cold, but I think it was just regular. So Villains and Vixens did a really good job at making sure that hydration was available.
Yeah.
As well as accessible, especially for the authors.
Yeah. Yeah. They were carrying it around like wait staff. They were bringing it to you. Absolutely. That was a really good idea.
It was very impressive.
The other thing I would say is bring your chargers, portable battery, whatever, because you're going to be looking stuff up on your phone. You're going to be taking pictures. You're going to be, making lists on your phone, whatever. You're going to be running down your battery. So make sure you have the ability to, have your devices for as long as you need them, all day or until you get into the room or whatever you need to do. Make sure you bring that. The other thing that I've started to do, and this is for when you fly to an event, doesn't so much matter when you're driving, but if you fly to an event, don't forget to bring one of those little scales, little portable bag scales to weigh your luggage. Because just because you can fit everything in your bag doesn't mean your bag is going to be underweight. And they charge you a ton when your bag is overweight. So if you can weigh your bag, you can distribute your stuff better so that you don't have one bag that's overweight, which I've run into having to redistribute my stuff every time I've been to Monsterotica that I fly to.
So I'm just saying, right now, you can buy in bulk single-use phone recharger packs. A pack of 10 is $60. If you resold that for $10, hey, you need to charge your phone, $10, and here's this little battery that will get your phone back up to, at least 50% if it's dead.
Quick charge. Yeah. Have a little, almost like a corner shop where we would provide all these services.
Just need you're just selling recharge. You're recharging water, recharging batteries, recharging food, all that stuff.
Exactly.
Something that Villains and Vixens had that I don't think I've seen at BookCon was the shipping service.
That was a really cool idea. Yeah.
I don't know what the costs were with that. We're fortunate enough that, we could drive our haul home, but those guys were busy. And I heard really positive reviews on the service and, whoever was running the service. I saw a lot of chatter about that in those chats, and everybody was really, really happy and grateful for that service.
That's an easy thing to do if you're already a UPS store franchisee or a FedEx Express franchisee, because you can do all of that remotely. Like, that's one of the business models for the UPS store franchisees, is going to events and doing that service.
Yeah. And for all I know, that's what these people are. I don't know.
Right. We had no idea. Yeah. But they were really right outside of the convention.
But there was a FedEx on site at the hotel.
A lot of the big hotels have a FedEx or UPS store in them.
It's nice to have the little extra options. And or maybe someone who is going to hopefully take care of your books.
Yeah, because let's be real. If you buy a bunch of books and you flew into this book convention, you're not going to read them before you get back home.
Right.
And it's going to be much more expensive to try and get them in, and you go overweight on your luggage at the airline.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I thought it was a great idea. And like I said, I heard really positive things about the service and the owners, whoever was running it. So kudos to them. And I just don't think I've seen that at Romantasy BookCon.
Yeah, I haven't seen it anywhere else. Other than any other packing type stuff you guys would recommend to people?
Yeah, for your book carts, just as a heads up, I recommend that you pick up one of those accordion bookends, like the adjustable bookends, so that way your books don't fall over. Because you may show up with 5 or 6 books in your cart. It's a lot of empty space, and you'll want to keep them condensed and upright. There are probably great ways to do it, but those collapsible or adjustable bookends will help secure your treasured belongings.
Yeah, so they don't get dinged and all. And for those that don't know, so like Jonathan, what you're referring to, it's like, okay, so let's say that an author you like, that you maybe already have several of their books, is going to be at this event. Well, it's not just the books that you buy at the event that you can get signed by these authors. You can bring your own books from home and get them signed by the author. Every book convention I've gone to lets you do that. There are limits. Maybe it's 3 per author or whatever. So you want to check to see. But you are able to bring books from home. So in addition to the books you're going to buy, you're going to allow yourself the ability to carry around the books you're going to bring with you to have signed as well.
Correct. And pro tip, this isn't something I self-discovered, but it is something that I read somewhere, and it works out. If you take a Post-it note and you just you write the author's name at the top of the Post-it note and any kind of inscription you want. So if they want it to you, you can write your, to, JP, to Ashley, and then you put it at the top of the page with the majority, like put it upside down on the top of the page where you want that author to sign. And then you put that in your book cart. Then you can just look down at your books, read the Post-it note. And if you have it in like an alphabetical order or something like that, you'll be able to find it, hand it to the author. When they open to the page that Post-it note is on, they'll see the spelling of your name.
Right.
They'll see, that that type of information, and it saves maybe some time and some awkward questions.
I agree. But depending on how many people are wanting to get autographs, you may not get a lot of time with each of these authors. Some you may be able to see multiple times or chat with, but some of the usually it's the ticketed authors, you're going to have a very finite amount of time with them. So you want to make the most use of that time possible. Okay, so moving on, after you've done that, you want to kind of prepare yourself ahead of time. So you want to kind of have a plan of attack or prioritize what you're wanting to get out of the event. So that may mean if there's an app that's related to the event, you want to download it ahead of time. So you have a way of knowing what's going on and getting up-to-date information on any changes, because these events always have changes. Things are going to happen. They're going to have to disseminate information to people. That's just human nature. And then they'll have maps and things where you can kind of see, oh, okay, well, I want to make sure that I hit up these authors first because I have items I want to pick up from them. Or I want to make sure I try and go to this author because I couldn't pre-order, but I want to see if they have such and such a book before they run out. Or if you want to focus on a ticketed author. Some cons don't do the ticketed process through apps and all. Some of them you have to like physically go to that author's booth and get a ticket. So pay attention to what you're wanting to prioritize at that event so you get the most out of it for what your goals are. And then other things I would say would be, don't wear brand new shoes. Break in your shoes. Wear shoes that are comfortable for you.
Don't wear untested shoes.
Yeah, good and tested shoes. Also, if this is a more than 1 day event, like if it's a 2-day event, probably don't wear the same pair of shoes both days. Like your feet will thank you if you have 2 good pairs of shoes that you can alternate between day to day. Also, if you're able to get your vaccines and your shots and things ahead of time, get them ahead of time so that you're not sick and you're not getting other people sick, and get it in enough time that you are allowing the immunization time to build up in your system. So don't get a flu shot the day before the event. Get it like 2 weeks before the event, for example, if it's, depending on the time of year that it is. Also, treat yourself well physically.
Treat yourself.
Yeah. Leading up to the event. Meaning, get enough sleep to allow your immune system to be like, 100%. Eat and drink well, whatever that means for you. Make sure you're hydrated, and then eating whatever that means for you. If it's lots of fruit and vegetables, if it's lots of high protein, whatever works good for your body. Give yourself the best shot at like having a good time at this event and not being sick or tired or getting over something, because you're going to be around a lot of people and a lot of germs that you are not used to being around. So give your body the benefit of hopefully not getting yourself sick at or from this event. Any other stuff before the event you guys would bring up?
Before the event? I think for lack of a better term, prepare to give yourself to the event. You should disconnect. If you have the opportunity, you should disconnect from that outside life and lean into the event, because there is a lot going on at that event. And if you find yourself distracted, you may miss something. So if you have the opportunity, I'm not saying like, hey, if you have kids, ignore your kids. I mean, maybe you want to, right? But like, if you took the day off from work, leave the work phone at home.
Yeah.
Lean into the event.
Be present. Absolutely. You paid to be there. You plan to be there. Enjoy being there.
I was going to say, if you're like a crafter who likes to share their trinkets and stuff, that's a prepare. I'm not a crafter. I don't have the gene.
Oh, yeah.
But there are a lot of people at these events that like to do trades. Sometimes they'll just give it away, without requesting a trade. But if that's something that you're interested in, like don't go in there expecting, not to trade for something. So if you're somebody who wants to dive into that game, make sure that you also come prepared.
And I think, and just for clarity, I don't know if it was that clear, or like the little beaded bracelets or
like friendship bracelets,
trinkets, things like that. People,
stickers,
they'll trade bookmarks, they'll trade things along the way just to build community and like, hey, how are you? I'm from Idaho and you're from Alaska, so perfect. I have these earrings that I made from Shrinky Dinks.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome, cool. Thanks for sharing this time with us.
It's like an icebreaker thing too. To be able to like talk to people, especially if you have, social anxiety or you feel awkward talking to people. The whole idea of like trading things, which this is in no way required. If you're not a crafty person, don't feel like you have to do anything. But if that's something that appeals to you, that's something you can definitely do at these events and have it be kind of a trading thing. Now, you want to look at the rules of the events. Generally, just use common sense. Like you don't want to make something to trade that's going to be like something that's being sold on the tables. You know what I mean? So like if they're selling, I don't know what a good example of this would be, but like if they're selling a knitted thing, whatever, a knitted little teddy bear, if that's something that the some of the vendors who are going to be there are known for, don't make knitted little teddy bears to give out to people. You know what I mean? So like, be careful what you're doing. But for the most part, the things that are going to be sold are going to be not the same type of things that you're going to be trading. So
that's interesting. I think because I think some of the things that I make or will be crafting, there's a possibility that they could have a vendor could be selling something similar. And I don't know that I would wish to obey that. Like, it's just two different things, right? Like it's.
I mean, it's not like copyrighted stuff.
Yeah. But I think that would be, you don't want to take a sale from somebody,
right.
But also if you're gifting something, that's hard. Like if somebody walked over to me and said, "Hey, that thing that you made, stop giving that away," I would probably tell them, "Hey, like pound salt." Like that's, if I chose to gift books away, that's,
which they do.
People do. I mean, it's maybe like we bought a book and then gave it away, but they do like give. Yeah, I mean, I also left with 2 books that I found that were
like in a scavenger hunt.
Yeah, the scavenger hunt that were hidden.
I think it's just a matter of like a common sense thing. So like, the vendors have to pay for their table and they have to pay to be there and they are selling a thing. So for example, I can't remember people's names, so I'm sorry if I'm going to say this wrong, but like there's a company that makes cock-shaped bookmarks. I think it's called Cockmarks.
Yeah, Cockmarks.
Right? So like, don't then print out a bunch of cock-shaped bookmarks and give it to people as a trinket trader thing at an event where you know that brand is going to be there. You see what I mean? If they're selling them, don't give it away for free.
You're saying, so for clarity, it's not that you couldn't give away bookmarks or you couldn't give away spicy bookmarks.
Right.
Don't take the one thing that identifies
Don't make a dupe and then give it away.
It's interesting because I think I still fall into that category.
What are you talking about?
I'm silicone molding, giving away ear cuffs.
Oh yeah.
And there was that 3D printed ear cuff.
I don't know that they'll be at this event though.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I don't care.
But it is first of all, I don't think it's exact designs or colors. Like, I think you're doing your own thing. I think it's something very generic that you found on, the craft store, silicone mold. So it's not, I don't know that we're talking about the same thing.
I mean, it's close enough. It's like a cock-shaped bookmark. But you didn't 3D print it. No. I didn't 3D print it. I didn't take their design. And I have been an advocate of bookmarks at these, I'm sorry, not bookmarks, an advocate of ear cuffs.
For a while now.
Book conventions for a few years. And this was the very first.
So during the event, you're going to get there. You're going to register. Always do that first. Well, I guess if you're going to drive there, make sure you know the rules of parking. Sometimes you have to get a certain ticket to get a cheaper price on parking or whatever. Make sure you have your parking situation sorted. And then first thing you're going to do after that is registration. That's how you're going to get your badge. That's how you're going to get maybe the schedule or whatever for the day, access to maybe start doing the ticketed authors on the app, depending on what's going on. And if they have any sort of like a goodie bag, grab bag situation. That's generally the first thing you're going to do when you get there. And then I would say, depending on your social battery, you may be there with friends already who, are book friends, or you may be, wanting to get to know people there. So if you're standing in line with people, maybe chat them up, maybe ask people what they're excited about. If this is their first, time going to an event, if they've read such and such a book, the people who are there probably have similar interests as you. That's the point of these events. So that would be a way to socialize. But also pace yourself because you don't want to wear yourself out with that. Depending, what your social battery is. Don't forget your pain med of choice. I forgot my ibuprofen this time. I had to go to the hotel store, and that was expensive. Yeah. If they even had it, it's going to be expensive, right? Your compression socks. Yeah. Whatever you need to get through that day. Whether that's ibuprofen, whether that's, your regular medication, your aids, whether it's compression socks, if you have a cane, if you, use another mobility device, whatever you have and you need, set yourself up for the best situation you possibly can. Also, be aware that not everybody around you has the same abilities and experiences as you. So if you see somebody who is using a visible aid of some kind, like a cane, or crutches, or what's it called, the rollator, or like a wheelchair, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get out of their way than for them to get out of yours. So be aware of what's around you, treat people like you'd want to be treated. And if there's something you see that's not working, if there's a way that you can speak up to make it better, speak up. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing that, then go to the people who are running the event. They usually have like a registration or somewhere. For example, like if there's people using the elevator and they're not letting people with wheelchairs on as like the, priority, then maybe that's something that needs to be brought to the con's attention. Maybe that's something they can fix. Things like that. But also be aware that not everyone's limitations are visible. So just give everyone the benefit of the doubt, I would also say, remember that the authors and the people who are there, just because someone is an author, maybe even a well-known author, maybe even an author that you feel like you connect with their world building and their writing style and really well, that doesn't mean that that author, who is also a person, doesn't have social anxiety, may not just be having a bad day themselves, may have been given bad news recently, like whatever. So just know that oftentimes you're going to have awkward interactions, and that's fine. It's not anything personal. It doesn't mean that that author's a bad person. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Just give people grace, because just because someone's an author doesn't mean that they're a people person. What else would you guys say as far as like at the actual event?
Be prepared. I always think of like, when you go shopping, when you're in a retail space, there's like
on Christmas Eve,
there's a 3-foot rule where people feel better. Like if there's space between someone. So you're going to be close to people. So spatial awareness when we're excited and we're seeing things, I think that's something to keep in mind so we don't make people uncomfortable in those spaces and feel hurried.
If you are going to cosplay or bound or have a costume, think about your costume in terms of the space it takes up. So maybe if you're going to be walking around looking at things during the day on the con floor, it's not the best time to do like a 3-foot wings. Maybe save those for like the ball in the night where you have space to like spread them out. I would say also, when you're moving around, the same rules that apply to like traffic generally apply. So if you need to stop and get something out of your bag, maybe step to the side and do it. Don't just stop in the middle of the walkway and assume that everybody lined up behind you is just going to stop and wait for you, because it's not comfortable for you and it's not going to be comfortable for them. Also, if you need to turn around, just kind of look around, make sure you're not like stepping into somebody.
Something interesting that I've seen at the last few book events was not everybody has the means or the capacity to buy all the books, right? And so there were a few event attendees who had different options for collecting signatures. Like there was a lady last year at Romantasy BookCon who created this beautiful scrapbook, and it had all of the authors attending and pictures of the books and stickers and stuff, and they left a little space for the author to sign. And I remember being floored. Like if something like that had existed to purchase, I would have.
Yeah.
It was just such a stunning piece, and it probably made a really great like coffee book or like trophy book for her bookshelf. And then at Villains and Vixens, there were a couple of young ladies, I think, who had, it was kind of like a keepsake box that you can get from Michael's, and it was plain, just like the bare wood or whatever material it is. And they were just having the author sign that, throughout the piece. So, don't stress yourself out or your bank if you can't buy all the books, because the authors are very likely to sign whatever you have. And sometimes that's just stickers,
right?
That people, will protect and put in the books that they can buy later, kind of thing. So, do some research on different options of what they can, what you want to have signed, stickers, scrapbooks, whatever the case
Other
may be.
I'm not people sign in addition to those is like tote bags
and
like jackets or shirts. And those like matting on frames that they have, like for like wedding pictures or fancy pictures, graduation pictures, like with the wide matting. You can have authors sign the matting, and then you could have like put a picture in there of the event or whatever.
Yeah, there were some really creative things the last couple of events. I was very impressed and kind of like jealous of, honestly. So there are some really good ideas out there. I'm not in the creative headspace to think of some of those things on my own. So that might be something to research, is kind of where I was going with that.
That's a great idea. So after your event, things that you might want to do would be like reflect on it and decide whether or not it was worth it, whether what you expected out of the event is what you actually got out of it. And that way you would know whether to maybe go back to this event or go to a different kind of event, or if book conventions are your thing or not, whether it was worth it for you. And that way you can, have better advice for other people who may be asking you about whether or not they should go to that event next year. Also do feedback, like to the people who are putting on the event, maybe to the authors, if there's something that you were going to talk to them about or whatever. If there's some events have like official surveys and things that they'll send you after the event, however method it is to give feedback, give them feedback, whether it's that you enjoyed everything and it was great, or that, maybe such and such a thing could be done differently, or because they're human, they cannot possibly know everything that's going on at the event. There may be things that didn't run as smoothly that they may not be as aware of. Always be nice. Be honest, but be nice and tactful in terms of how you are wording feedback. You don't want to assume that anybody is operating from a place of like wanting to screw people over or to like be mean or whatever. Most of the time it's ignorance, unaware of like how it affected another person kind of thing. But like give the feedback so that maybe for the next person or next time it might be a better experience, even if you're not going to be going back to it. And then also would be, however you decide to organize your memories and your things from the event, whether that's a scrapbook that you're doing, whether it's posting your photos on social media, whether you like to do journaling, but get together your experience while it's still fresh, and that way you'll have it to look back on so you can enjoy it, but also you can make decisions as to whether or not you want to do it again or whether you want to do it in a different way next time, that sort of thing. Any other, networking stuff. So like if you said you were going to get back with such and such a person, or you were going to send them this book recommendation or send them this link or, whatever, try and remember to do all that. Because in the moment you're excited, you're at the event, you're not going to remember everything. But afterwards, try your best to like anything you said you were going to do or give or, reach out to a person for, that's the time to sit down and like take care of that stuff. Any other after event stuff?
Recovery, sleep. You're definitely going to come down off this, off of what feels like a high. And so I think the morning after the event this last time, I would also say when we were leaving the event, the morning after we were going to the car, keep your head on a swivel, because that's when I found those 2 hidden books.
Yeah.
Special editions.
I forget which ones they were. I have them somewhere around here.
Scavenger hunts are definitely a thing. I think at the last few events, they'll post about it and whatever their communication tool is. So if that's your jam, keep your eye out for that. We happened to find something that was not found the night before, I think, on our way out the next morning.
Yeah. The bonds that break us and the blood that binds us is what I found. Special edition, hardcover, signed, painted edges.
Stunning.
Aaron Maynard wrote them.
Oh, Aaron.
Yeah. So you never know. Even though the event is over, the magic may not be over for you.
I agree. Also, my general travel tool is the best way to get over the crash from one event and the kind of the depression that comes from the event being over is to plan your next event. So you have something to look forward to. So that's my advice. Plan about what you might want to do. It may be a year out, that's fine. It's still something to look forward to. So, all right. Any other advice before I wrap this up?
No, I feel good about this.
Okay, so thanks for listening to Of Swords and Soulmates. Before we go, make sure to check out the show notes, rate, review, and subscribe to us on your podcast app of choice. It helps others to find us. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Of Swords and Soulmates. Check us out on our website of swordsandsoulmates.com. If you'd like to offer a suggestion for a future episode, book recommendation, or discussion topic, feel free to reach out to us on the DMs of any of those options. If you want to read along with us as we prep for a new episode and get chapter by chapter, occasionally unhinged interaction, join our Fable app book club by searching for the Of Swords and Soulmates book club. And last but not least, we hope you'll join us in 2 weeks for the next episode when we will be discussing When the Tides Held the Moon by Vanessa Vida Kelly.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.